Hello and welcome to Aycorp Ag Spotlight. Today, Nick Crouch and Ty Fowler join me from DynaGro Seed, a proprietary seed division of Nutrien Ag Solutions. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Nick, Ty, welcome.
Thank you.
Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family, where you live.
Live in Jonesboro. Cut my teeth as an independent consultant for around 10 years. From there, was able to become the agronomist for Terrell Seed, just dealing with corn and beans and wheat, and then had the opportunity to move over to Monsanto, get back into the cotton, and then from there became the division agronomist for Nutrien and DynaGro product manager. You
get this great cushy job selling DynaGro Seed. They sell themselves, right? Ty, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Actually, I'm taking a tour of the cotton seed business here in the U.S. Not a farm kid like Nick, but I'm a kid of the ag chem business. My dad was a BASF rep, and so I grew up around that end of the business. Started actually in ag when I was 15, working in tobacco research for Clemson, and wound up getting my master's degree from Clemson. And first role right out of graduate school was with Stoneville Pedigreed Seed Company, and wound up taking a role with Delta and Pineland in South Georgia as an agronomist. Moved to St. Louis with Monsanto as the cotton trait product manager. Now I'm here with DynaGro, and very excited about the opportunities.
Nick, Nutrien Ag Solutions is a name that farmers trust in our country, all over the country actually. DynaGro Seed, a lot of people don't know the history of DynaGro Seed as being a proprietary seed division of Nutrien Ag Solutions. Tell us a little bit about that history of DynaGro Seed.
So when Nutrien Ag Solutions, well, it was CPS then, we changed our name since, but when CPS acquired UAP, UAP had Vigoro, CPS had DynaGro. Well, they just merged it together, became DynaGro Seed. For the early years, it was just wheat and soybeans. And then early 2000s, they were able to start getting traits and germplasm from corn states, and the portfolio evolved. They added cotton to the mix, corn, and across the South we sell cotton, corn, soybeans, and now rice, which we're very excited about.
One time my good friend Steve Martin told me this one time. I started growing DynaGro Cotton, I think it was 2570, several years ago. And I think that variety kind of slipped out from some of the breeders, and they didn't really mean for a good variety like that to get out. So I've got a lot of history myself with DynaGro Seed. One of the old timers back when I started growing that cotton was Stacy Bruff. I know you are familiar with the late Stacy Bruff. Wanted to mention him because he's the one that kind of got me started on DynaGro Seed. But what was your experience back in the old days with some of the DynaGro varieties?
Well, as Nick was alluding to, it was, basically it was two different companies that weren't in the cotton business, and then DynaGro started easing into it and really didn't have a good running start. So when I started in the cotton business back in the late 90s, getting into the early 2000s, it was a bit player and really wasn't a lot put into the business from an outsider's perspective looking in. But obviously, starting in the mid-2000s, late 2000s, started building up the portfolio with better products and really giving a good, honest effort to bring good products to market. And part of that is having a good supplier relationship with some of our trait providers, as well as some germplasm providers. But on top of that is the dedication that DynaGro now has and Nutrien Ag Solutions has with adding our own breeders. So with the acquisition of Alltech Seed Company, that CPS initiated, we added on a breeder in Victoria, Texas. Here in the past few years, we've added a breeder in Winterville, Mississippi. In addition to that, we now have our own transgenic introgression breeder, so we're no longer as dependent on some of our transgenic trait partners to put the traits into our germplasm. We're able to do that ourselves and bring products forward to market that not only that we're getting from other suppliers, but we're also generating ourselves.
Nick, like Ty just said, DynaGro's made a long-term commitment to the cottonseed industry. How does that make the DynaGro employees, Nutrien employees feel they've got their own proprietary seed? Like you said earlier, it's not a me-too product. You've got your own proprietary seed, and it's actually taken a lot of share of the cottonseed market. So tell us a little bit about that long-term commitment.
Well, it was viewed as, bottom shelf for so long, and with our new commitment, as far as, We brought Frank Groves. He moved from agronomist up to head of cotton, and now we brought Ty on. It really builds confidence in the brand, and it gets our salesmen behind it. And it brings it up from that bottom shelf to the top shelf, because we are a top shelf product. And long term, we like I said before, we don't want to have what everybody else has in the bag. We want our own products, and that's where DynaGro's moving to. We have companies that are coming to us wanting our products to put in their bags, and that's very exciting going forward.
Ty, what varieties are you marketing for the 2022 crop?
For 2022 here in the Boot Hill of Missouri and northeast Arkansas, we really have two varieties that we're really keen on and marketing pretty heavily. That would be DynaGro 3644, which is a root knot resistant or tolerant variety, as well as DynaGro 3456. Both of those products are Bollgard 3 XtendFlex varieties.
Nick, tell us a little bit about the characteristics of 3456 and 3644.
Yeah, so on 3456, it's going to be more like we had an old variety 3385. It's a mid-maturing variety, mediums tall plant, very, very growthy, so it's going to need to be managed. And we're going to need to hit it, around boot tall or, 8-10 node, and we're going to need to watch it through the season so it doesn't get away from us. Fiber quality on that variety is outstanding. We've had it in a few trials where it led the pack, was #1, and then we had it where it was #2 at first, but then once the fiber came back, it rose back to #1. Very excited about that variety. It also has very good emergence, which is something that we run into on a lot of varieties because we're very small seeded, but great things to come with 3456.
All right, tell us a little bit about the characteristics of 3644.
So that is, like Ty said, that is a root knot variety. Also very growthy. Good dryland option. 1522 Delta Pine in this part of the world seemed to be a really good variety for stress. And that's kind of where I compare it to. We've had it in areas where we didn't have root knot issues and it still performed. So it's just not a variety that's going to perform on those stressier environments.
But Nick, on your ice cream dirt, you're wanting 3456 this year, right?
Correct.
Your Sandy Loams, Bernie, Parma, Dexter, Essex, Zenith, Hornersville, Caruth area. That's
Correct.
where you're wanting 3456. That's where it fits, correct?
Yes, sir. And we still have our tried and trues. We still have 3317, which has done very well in the Boot Hill. We have 3520, which is a bacterial blight variety that has done well around Truman, Lake City area. And we still have, like I said, our old standby Bollgard 2, 3385, that we still plant a pretty good bit of.
Well, Ty, that's a great point that Nick made. That's what I started with before the 2570. When some of the better technology came in, I started growing 3385. It evolved into 3317. Now Nick's got me growing the 3456. These varieties are coming out fast now, aren't they? What's the difference back in the old days getting a variety to market until now? It seems like they're just coming out at a rapid pace. 3385 semi-obsolete now. We just got 3317 a few years ago. Now we're already switching to 3456. Tell us a little bit about that evolution.
Well, it's a good thing and a bad thing. If you're a grower such as yourself and your friends and neighbors in this part of the world, you want a good steady variety that you can learn and trust on your farm and get used to. But unfortunately, on the flip side of that is breeding is just coming at such a rapid pace now that the genetic gain year over year is such that it just makes no sense to hold back on some of these lines. And it's kind of just a bountiful pipeline of products to choose from. So whether it's a product coming from one of our suppliers or even our own in-house breeding programs, it's a very tough environment out there to really hold something back. We feel like every time we do launch a product, it's a product that's worth planting on your farm. So with agronomists like Nick and agronomists across the Cotton Belt, we're working with growers, working with the universities, working with local county extension to be in the trials, to be in the university trials, to get their exposure to the products so that we have a better handle on how to manage them, how to grow them, what environment do they need to be planted in to give you and the growers the best choice and the best understanding, best knowledge base to be successful with the DynaGro cotton product.
Well, Nick, I know you kind of went crazy on variety trials this year. Everybody has to stay in the game, stay current. How many variety trials do you think you had in this region?
Well, in our division, we had 8, and that's for me traveling from from the Boot Hill all the way down to Grady, Arkansas. That's a lot to cover and evaluate and keep up with. But some of those trials, we put our competition. We put 2038. We put some other varieties in there, Delta Pine, Stoneville varieties, just because we want a fair shake. But at the end of the day, 3456 rose to the top, and so did some of our others. But we definitely got to have that data. Definitely got to have it. We currently work with the University of Arkansas, Bill Roberts, and on its county trials, Dr. Fred Borland with LVT. The University of Mizzou has just brought on a new cotton specialist. Talked to him a couple of times on the phone. Very excited for that, because that is an area that we feel like we're missing out on, and we're hoping for good things there, because we really.
I just read that last night that University of Missouri has hired a new variety. That's one of the main focuses for him is variety trials.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, he's already enlisted the help of some independents like Eddie Lomax and some of those guys to work some trials for him.
Nick, like I said, you've done a lot of variety trials. You had a pretty good geographical balance. I think you told me you had 8. Let's talk about some of those variety trials in the area for 2021. Yeah,
so one that's kind of close to home here, we had it on Jeremy Connor, and it was just a full DynaGro set. We had our tried and true 3317, 3520, 3535, 3644, and we also had 3456. In this, you know how any type of variety trial, it's hard to manage one variety. So when the applicator hits it, the applicator hits it. And we still had excellent results. 3456 rose to the top. Following it was 3317, 3520. All had very good yields, but where 3456 stood out was on its fiber quality. Another location that we had was in Lepanto, on Knolls, and this particular trial we had 2 Delta Pine varieties, 2038, 2115. The yields in the field were pretty close between the Delta Pines and the DynaGros, but once we got the fiber quality back, 3456 again rose to the top, and the grower could tell as he got off the picker. He just told us he knew that was the variety. And that's been the same story across the rest of, down around Lone Oak County and other areas where we've had trials. Our 2-year data from the University of Arkansas, 3456 has had excellent performance.
Nick makes a good point. Nick and I hosted about 15 to 20 Nutrien Ag Solutions personnel, higher-ups. We walked that plot. And it all goes back to the management by the farmer, right? And you can see the different management practices either working or not working in that plot, because some varieties needed different types of management than the other. Some of those varieties in that plot were too tall, some of them were too short, some of them had more plant bugs. I remember walking that field that day. So variety trials are not as easy as they seem. But talk a little bit about the management of these varieties.
Nick hit on it earlier about the first thing that you will notice about management with the DynaGro products. Majority of our varieties that we brought forward are larger seeded and have better vigor. So you can start planting them a little bit earlier in the planting window, maybe go into some conditions that you might otherwise with another product that's smaller seeded, lower vigor, avoid, or maybe plant later into the season. That's also going to play into some of your herbicide programs. A lot of smaller seeded varieties that are slower to emerge, the more residual herbicides you're using at planting, the more you're going to bang those varieties up and potentially slow them down. With a larger seeded, better vigor variety, you can go into some of your more weedier fields, so you can go with a more aggressive residual program. So that's the first part in evaluating where do you put some of these varieties. Other piece is growth management, and that ties in very well with your nutrient management program. Knowing how much is too much of a good thing when it comes to fertility. Especially you look at a year like this year with input cost and where they're going from that standpoint. That's where having that local knowledge on is this a growthy variety? Is it something that's going to excel on that that more tough ground versus easy ice cream ground, and making those differences. And it really it's something that you don't fully grasp until we get it out to growers, get it on a more larger footprint. Because as Nick was talking about in the variety trials we run, it's very hard to manage 10 varieties for the median response. Some are going to be too tall, some might be too short, some might not have everything they need. And it gives you a good direction, shows you the ones that can be that all-star utility infielder that can fit any gap you have on the farm. But there's some other products we want to make sure that aren't going by the wayside just because we didn't give them the best chance to shine. And that's comes into our relationship working with the universities and having Nick doing independent trials with crop consultants and with growers such as yourself we have a better understanding of how to manage these varieties and what recommendations to go forward with. Great points, Ty. There's no doubt some varieties need more management than others. Some of them you can just plant them and leave them. Some of them you got to be doing spraying them all the time. So Ty, it's exciting times at DynaGro Cotton Seed. What's in store for the future? In the immediate future, we hope to be part of Bayer's launch of their new trait, Thrive On, which is going to provide protection against plant bugs as well as against thrips. I was involved with that trait development and testing when I was with Bayer, but I will leave it to Bayer to speak to the current efficacy and data they have on it. But I'm very excited about the trait. I'm excited about the pipeline we have of germplasm that has that trait in it. And we are poised to rapidly bring products forward. We've invested into a farm in Costa Rica which provides counter-season production so that we can bring the breeding process that much faster, cut the time in half, as well as utilizing a farm in Puerto Rico for the very same reasons. So we can take these new trait platforms, put them in our latest, greatest germplasm, and bring them to growers in half the time. Nick, like we were talking about throughout this whole interview, it's exciting times at DynaGro Cotton Seed, but there's still a few people that don't grow DynaGro Cotton Seed. What can you tell a grower that has never tried your product?
A few acres isn't going to kill you. We have quality products. We're not bottom shelf. You can go by any location, if it's a cotton location, and those guys are well versed in our varieties. And if they're not, if there's something that they have trouble with, they can get a hold of me. And would love to meet with any grower about our DynaGro varieties. And open to, if he's a new grower, hey, we'll do a side-by-side trial. Maybe we'll do a little test to see if he likes DynaGro. Well, guys, thank you for being here today. It's been a pleasure talking about cotton. It's one of my favorite subjects. My good friends from Nutrien Ag Solutions and DynaGro Seed, I not only like to talk about DynaGro Seed, I also grow it.